Alright, so a lot of you guys might have watched the previous video where I actually went through and did a lot of the tuning on it. So now I'm actually going through and doing the drift benchmark, um, because a lot of you guys are probably just going to want to know what I actually feel like the stats should be for it. So one of the things I kind of like about it, it is relatively easy to drift. It has a little bit of a uh, dull response time, but you know that could be the tires because it's on the factory tires for it, and you can only imagine what the factory tires grip would be on a car this old. For benchmarking purposes, I always use the classic Indianapolis Grand Prix because it's flat ground, it's relatively wide for the track. You don't have to worry about being super technical on it, and it's a good place to actually build a level tune because if you build it on like um, the Swiss Alps or something like that, or you know, like the Dubai track, there's hills and slight banks, and I mean, you could drift on them, yeah, and you can make a good tune for it, but they're typically like purpose built for that track. This is one of those tracks that's relatively level for the most part, and being relatively level gives you the advantage of having a well-rounded tune. You don't have to worry about setting the suspension to deal with banking or anything like that. It's just build it for flat ground, and if it's good at banking when you're done with it, just glorious. Because most of the time when you build a car for this track, you can pretty much take it everywhere. I mean, obviously a couple of exceptions if you have one for high speed versus slow speed. So, when it comes to the Chevy 150, the ease of tuning, I would have to say, because realistically it didn't need much for tuning when you first upgraded it. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of surprised about that. There is one thing though that I wish was a little bit better. The the fine tuning to see what actually does what and how to actually get it perfect for what you want it to do is really hard and finicky. Like you have to spend a lot of time going and just doing all the fine details. However, I will say the look of the drifts, the drifts look pretty amazing. Like I'm not gonna lie, they that machine just looks insane when it goes sideways the way it does. I mean, you know, some people might think like the body kit cars look a little bit better, and I'm not gonna lie, some of those cars do look nice, but you gotta give this car credit. When it throws that ass end out, it just looks majestic. It might be the body style of the car, I don't know, but it looks majestic. Now, when it comes to price, for the price of the car and the upgrades, I would have to say it. I would say overall, it was relatively cheap because we didn't do any major upgrades. We didn't swap out the drivetrain. We didn't swap out the powertrain. We pretty much just left everything the way it was and had at it. I mean, we did some upgrades, but other than the fact that it was a free DLC car, which even without the DLC, it didn't seem too expensive, I'd give the price a 7 out of 10. Yeah, going back to the look of the drifts here, some of these drifts just look insane. Like, you just don't expect to see that thing whip that ass end out like that. Yeah, I would say the look of the drifts is easily 9 out of 10 just because it looks insane. You don't think of it doing what it's doing until all of a sudden you see it sideways like that, and it looks like it was made to do it. It looks like it was made to go sideways like that. Now, when it comes to points, for those who actually like to drift for points, this is actually the highest points car I've ever actually built for a video. Um, I set a new personal best on the Grand Prix Classic for Indianapolis with this car. I hit a 48,309 point lap. And like I said in one of the previous videos where I was actually going through and showing you how I was tuning it, this thing surprised me. I wasn't expecting a car that was a utility vehicle, you know, just a bare bones stock car, to do this well at drifting. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you just didn't see it coming. They were just, I mean, there's some cars that like you buy and you're like, oh yeah, that's a drift machine, hands down. Let's just put a couple bucks into the engine there, we're good to go. This, no idea. Had no expectation of this going sideways, but I was like, hey, that looks mean. Let's just make this look meaner. And I didn't even change the way it looked. I bought it this way. But just look at that. Oh, it goes sideways so pretty. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure 100% of how you guys agree with my decision here for how it's built, but I personally don't think I could have made a more meaner drift machine out of what this currently is. I mean, there are better drift cars out there, but this thing just, yeah, for the overall, hands down, 8.5 out of 10 for driftability. And if someone was to make this as a recommendation, I don't think I could have made, with the amount of money that I spent and how much time I spent tuning it, I don't think with how much time, effort, and money went into it, that I could make a better drift car with something else, to be completely honest. So I'm going to give that overall rating a 8.5 out of 10. And, you know what? No, let's simplify it. That's a 9 out of 10 for overall drift car. I mean, certain stats don't, like if you compare all the other stats, like they might not seem like it's a 9 out of 10, but just the overall impression that it leaves, man, it just screams badass. It really does. You can't compete with this right now for me. I love it. So, hope that was informational on there. I'm just going to do a couple little bit of clips of editing here and put a little couple stats up on the screen for you so you guys can see a little bit more of what I actually did for it. So, hope you enjoy, and I wanted to say thanks for tuning in and have a great rest of your whatever.